This is Camnet TV main news at 19:30. Let's look at some of the top stories in our news this evening. Community gang members terrorize residents of LUSAKA'S Garden House compound. Anti-Corruption Commission halts treasury bills, bonds worth 31 million kwacha held by 18 government officials. President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA calls for law reforms that are non-conflicting. In our international headlines, a shocking prison break fugitive returned to South Africa. And in sports, two-time African rally champion Mona Senior dies. We have the details of this news and more shortly after this message.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. Renglow, your smart irrigation partner.
Thank you so much for joining us to present the news. My name is Louisiana Lupumbwe, and now the news in detail. Residents of Garden House compound in Lusaka at Sau area say they are tired of lawlessness that is being perpetrated by community gangs locally known as junkies who are taking advantage of limited police presence in the community. Speaking to Camnet News, Stephen Mwamba, one of the residents, narrates that a group of junkies descended on his house on Saturday night and demolished his wall fence, but were scared off after community members awoke to the noise. The affected residents states that the whole area only has one police post, whose distance further from some parts of the community, making it difficult to access the police for help in times of emergencies. Coupled with poor road network in the area, we have details in this report.
This is a wall fence in LUSAKA'S Garden House Sau area, which was allegedly demolished by a community gang that descended on the house Saturday night. The community, which falls under Kanyama constituency, is one of the vast areas in Lusaka with limited police presence, as the place only has one police post, which is Plainview Police Post. Owner of the house, Stephen Mwamba, now narrates what happened, stating that the attempted attack on his house is not an isolated incident, as it is the order of the day due to limited police presence.
So kuna yaoneka majangi na kupaka majangi kuna kupaka malini majangi. So we need the help of police, but we have got only the police post. We are maintaining a Plainview. So we need manpower ya police kuti bapaka at least, but tulicheve na imozi kuti manpower kuti wazungi mama powers ya kuti wambiri wakwere kono si kaipezeka kuti ichepekera. So manje makamaka ku market yao kufunika ya maintaining tuna big Mwanza market. Kwa mentifunika at least na kwefu kungaliko police post na kwefu. So that at least tukangaliko secured as a community. Ku market kwa sika vindu vambiri maningi bapoka bantu mandrama basecha bapeza kuti na masoti bantu bamenyamenya kwa poka mafoni vicha. So ndeva vindu vichitika kwa mene ku market yaka. So bantu bamayopa futi kuti kwa ambo enda na usiku balibe freedom ya kuti bakazenda usiku. So ipeza kuti ati bantu bankala manje monga bagwiriwa.
Another member of the same family, Deborah Likambi, has also narrated the incident.
So kesi ya chitike ya likuma 20 to 21 hours. Kono nama road staya babu ino ya kweba tilimbuti mwa booking wangu mwa ya pa polisi takwaba. So twalishuka ile day ya kweba ti kwali fo kuingira mungando kubutikira mungando kuikomena. Paka nefo bayisangu mane kofi apa majangi. Valeru shokweba ati bangu mewanjipa ya pene pa veranda. Ngate kundonsera munganda no shitaturera ndari mbino kunjipanga bali njipai. Antu bali abengi ero bwali bushu.
Their plea is that more police posts should be constructed using the Constituency Development Fund (CDF) to see crimes by community gangs put under control. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Anti-Corruption Commission (SCC) says it has restricted over 100 bank accounts for the Ministry of Finance officials in alleged abuse of office. SCC head corporate communications Timothy Mono says further restrictions have also been effected on treasury bills and bonds held by 18 audited 18 officials from the Ministry of Finance and Auditor General's Office held at the Bank of Zambia with a total value of 31,876,000 kwacha. Mr. Mono says investigations conducted have revealed that officials from the ministry paid themselves allowances on fictitious activities between 2020 to 2021, causing government to lose over 300 million kwacha. And Mr. Mono says the commission in the first quarter of 2023 received a total of 113 reports of suspected corruption, in which 110 reports contained elements of corruption and were authorized for investigations, while 3 were pending further action. More in this report.
The fight against corruption has been on the center talks of the United Party for National Development, UPND, taking over office on 12th of August 2021, though the opposition political party leaders have called it a witch hunt, as they feel the fight against corruption in Zambia is targeted at a certain group of people. Updating journalists in Lusaka Thursday on the first quarter performance of the Commission, Anti-Corruption Commission Head Corporate Communications Timothy Mono says the Commission has so far made 18 arrests in a matter in which it is investigating alleged abuse of office against officials from the Ministry of Finance, and that over 100 bank accounts for officials have been restricted, and that further restrictions have also been made on treasury bills and bonds held by 18 officials from the ministry with a total value of 31,876,000 kwacha.
The Commission has restricted over 100 bank accounts for the Ministry of Finance officials. Further, restrictions have also been effected on treasury bills and bonds held by 18 officials from the Ministry of Finance and the Auditor General's Office, held at Bank of Zambia with a total value of 31,876,000 kwacha. Investigations in this matter are ongoing.
Mr. Mono also says during the quarter under review, a total of 130 reports of suspected corruption were received, in which 110 reports contained elements of corruption and were authorized for investigations, while 3 were pending further action.
During the quarter, the Commission received a total of 113 reports of suspected corruption, and of these cases, 110 reports contained elements of corruption and were authorized for investigations, while only 3 were pending further action. 28 arrests were also effected during the quarter, and as at close of the quarter, the Commission had 1,341 cases under investigation.
With the United States of America, through its Vice President Kamala Harris, having pledged to support Zambia with $16 million United States dollars towards the fight against corruption and allied programs, the Zambian people look forward to seeing corruption being fought regardless of who is involved. Prudence Jota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Advocates for People's Prosperity APP party says the United Party for National Development UPND administration is targeting the wrong people in its anti-melamine smuggling raid, while the real culprits continue to perpetrate the vice. In an interview, APP President Mwenyam Singh says the party has reliable information that melamine syndicates by high-ranking government officials have been formed and are actively operating, requiring urgent inquiry by the country's investigative wings. Mr. Msenge further says the people being stopped from exporting melamine are genuine businessmen and women who only need to be controlled, stating that their melamine exports have no significant bearing on the country's food security. More in this report.
The recent past few weeks have been characterized by various arrests of melamine smugglers who have been caught in the act while trying to take the commodity out of the country without following the legal process. The vice is what has been blamed for the shelves in many shops and chain stores in some parts of the country being empty, affecting citizens, forcing affected citizens to line up for hours just to get 1.5 kilogram bag of melamine. Various measures have since been put in place by the government, among which is closing in on smugglers, and working with the Zambia National Service to offload Milimiu. The opposition advocates for People's Prosperity APP through its president Munyamusenge, however, says wrong tactics are being employed to solve the Milimiu crisis, stating that the party has reliable information of an ongoing Milimiu syndicate by high-ranking government officials, which needs to be investigated. He was speaking to Camnet News.
We know that there are big dealers in the country who are actually exporting, probably let me use the term smuggling, at a very, very high scale. And our people in the Ministry of Agriculture, they know them very well. The exporting of maize, they know the players that have actually been siphoning the maize and creating the situation that we have. We expect that the new Dawn government should pull up their socks and clean up the mess at the Ministry of Agriculture and put everything in a proper perspective.
The opposition leader has also urged the current administration to pull up its socks, stating that the current picture makes it unlikely for them to fulfill the promises to the Zambian people within the 5-year mandate.
Our colleagues by UPND, they really need to be also serious. When they came into government, before they even came into government, let me mention here that they underwent a lot of persecution under political violence. And they made a lot of promises that once we come into government, we'll make sure that we eradicate this kind of politics in our country. But we are seeing it mushrooming again.
The party president has further called for strong policies in the agriculture sector, stating that the current administration was well aware of the potential drawbacks and failed to prepare. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Ruling United Party for National Development Youth spokesperson Phineas Pumulo has alleged that it is unjust for anyone to claim that there is more suffering under the United Party for National Development UPND administration than it was under the Patriotic Front Party. In an interview with Camnet, Mr. Pumulo says the UPND administration understands that the many Zambians are still living in poverty, hence the reason why various mechanisms have been put in place to improve the lives of the people. He reiterates that the ruling party is working towards improving the lives of citizens, more especially youths across the country. He adds that it will be unreasonable to compare the UPND to the PF and that the former ruling party left the country in a mess.
That we are targeting on improving people's life. This is why we have taken CDF into the constituencies, into the ward, so that people participate and people earn money through participating in those projects. I can tell you that even in the developing countries, people who are suffering, they are there. But as the new Dawn government, as UPND party in government, we are working tirelessly to make sure that we improve the lives of our people. It is true that we still have people who are suffering in this country. Then you can't elevate poverty completely within a space of less than 2 years. But we are working toward to make sure that everyone has got access to the national cake, regardless of where one comes from. And it's not fair for people to blame the government. The government has got a free policy. They want to empower the citizen, but citizens should also be responsible in how they conduct their businesses. They should follow the right procedure and not conduct their businesses illegally. Because when you conduct your business illegally, you are going to the law enforcement agencies, they are going to pounce on you, and this same citizen will blame the government.
The Civil Society for Poverty Reduction (CSPR) has called on government to work in collaboration with key players in the private sector to ensure that mealie meal is sold at a fair price and is available on the market. CSPR Executive Director Fides Temba says government needs to work hand in hand with the farmers, unions and milling companies to ensure that shortage of mealie meal is dealt with. Ms. Temba has further urged the government to immediately suspend the exportation of maize and its products until the situation improves in the country. Meanwhile, Ms. Temba has noted the need for government to invest more in the agriculture sector in order to promote crop diversification, including timely distribution of farming inputs to enhance availability of mealie meal and other food crops on the market. Republican President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA has called for law reforms that will regain the respect of Zambian citizens for the judiciary. Speaking to lawyers during the 10th Annual Law Association of Zambia LA's General Conference in Livingstone Thursday, the head of state says many citizens have lost confidence in the judicial system due to conflicting judgments on the same issues in some instances. President Hichilema has cited the Constitutional Court as an example, stating that they have in the past come up with contradicting interpretations of the law. He has therefore urged lawyers and judges to remain patriotic to the country and fight for the common good of citizens without protecting personal interests of individuals.
President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA has opened the 10th Annual Law Conference of the Law Association of Zambia, held alongside the 50th anniversary of LA's commemoration. Here, President Hichilema has called on the legal fraternity to get more involved in resolving social issues affecting society.
Climate change, the environment and nature is behaving differently now than it used to do. How does the profession work in such an environment? What is it required to do here? The immigration we are seeing now of colleagues, Africans from the Horn of Africa, is increasing by the day. I'm sure you are aware not long ago, 27 plus one, I think it was, because one had survived, then died later, came through in a container. What should we be doing as a legal profession?
The president has also called on LAS to support the law reform process and the fight against corruption.
Doing law reform, Mr. President, to look at the challenges that the judiciary faces when we enact laws. How do they interpret those laws? Lacunas, Mr. President, are killing us. So as we're reviewing, you're reviewing your own LAS Act, as we're reviewing the list of laws that the minister talked about, can we be alive to the lacunas that we create, which creates problems for the judiciary? And I must tell you, problems for the executive as well. So in the overall space of law reform, can we look at what we've not done well?
And LAS President Langseni Zulu wants increased support for the judiciary.
Permit me to highlight only 3 issues. 1, financial autonomy of the judiciary and budgetary support for court infrastructure. In the last 20 years, I think ever since I was a lawyer, there hasn't been any meaningful infrastructure development of courtroom. Needs to be done to improve infrastructure for access to justice. I'm also reminded of the provisions of Article 123 of the Constitution. It requires that the judiciary must be a self-accounting institution and must be capacitated with sufficient resources to deliver justice for citizens. I'm aware, when I read the various reports of the judiciary, that this hasn't yet quite been operationalized. Your government has a very good chance, the best opportunity, Mr. President, to actualize the provisions of Article 123.
Minister of Justice Mlambo Haimbe and his Southern Province counterpart Cornelius Mwetwa also spoke at the event.
I am therefore excited to learn that the Law Association of Zambia, LAS, has partnered with international stakeholders to roll out digitized self-paced CPD courses. We commit to facilitate the participation of all government lawyers to sharpen their skills to better serve our fellow citizens.
Golden Jubilee celebration is a time to pause and reflect on the achievements of the association while looking forward to what can be done better.
Mnyana Lumpa, Zanis in Livingstone, Southern Province.
And our Lake Oil Group of Companies Limited has told the Lusaka High Court that it does not engage in verbal agreements as portrayed by former Kabushi Member of Parliament Bowman Lusambo. Lake Oil Group of Companies has argued that Mr. Lusambo is not entitled to the 600,000 United States dollars he is claiming, adding that it never approached nor engaged him to bring investors on behalf of the company. This is in a matter in which Mr. Lusambo has sued Lake Oil Group of Companies Limited to court demanding payment of 600,000 United States dollars being facilitation fees for the company's various investigations, or rather investments. He claims the company breached a verbal contract. More in this report.
After being sued by former Kabushi Area Member of Parliament Bowman Lusambo late last year, demanding payment of 600,000 United States dollars, Lake Oil Group of Company has now filed its defense, refuting claims made by the former lawmaker. In November 2022, Mr. Lusambo dragged Lake Oil Group of Companies, claiming 600,000 United States dollars being facilitation fees for the company's various investments. However, in the latest submissions made before court, Lake Oil Group of Companies says it does not engage in verbal agreements as portrayed by Mr. Lusambo. The company has also argued that Mr. Lusambo is not entitled to any of the monies he claims, adding that it had never approached nor engaged him to bring investors on its behalf. The company has also submitted that at the time Mr. Lusambo was occupying public office as a provincial minister and was getting paid through taxpayers' money, and as such could not take pecuniary interest or advantage of the company, who Mr. Lusambo alleged is an investor, and by virtue of his foresaid office, he endeavored to promote investment for the good of Zambia and not for his directly personal benefit. According to the earlier submissions that were filed before court by Mr. Lusambo, he had alleged that in 2017, through Lake Oil Group of Company Limited's agent by the name of Ramana Kopa, he was approached to facilitate the company's investment in various portfolios, adding that he had agreed to facilitate the company's investment, and arising from that, a verbal agreement was made between him and the company. Meanwhile, Lake Oil Group of Companies says Mr. Lusambo sued the wrong party and the matter is irregularly before court, hence ought to be dismissed. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Lusaka High Court has granted an application by the defense to adjourn the case in which 5 women, among them a judiciary officer, who are accused of stealing a child from the University Teaching Hospital. Thursday, when the 5 accused appeared before Magistrate Crispin Hampungani, the defense informs the court that some of the lawyers representing the accused were not present as they are attending an AGM meeting for the Law Association of Zambia. In this matter, Precious Nkunika, a judiciary officer, and 4 other UTH employees are accused of having stolen a 6-day-old baby from Edina Lungu in May last year. Details are in this report.
The subordinate court in Lusaka Tuesday morning granted an application by the defense to adjourn the case in which 5 women are accused of stealing a baby. When the matter came up this morning, the state prosecution team informed the court that it was ready to proceed with trial in the matter. However, before a witness could be called on stand, the defense made an application. The application by the defense was to request for an adjournment on ground that other accused persons' lawyers were not present before court as they are attending a meeting in Livingstone for lawyers. Magistrate Crispin Hampungani, who is presiding over the case, reluctantly agreed to the plea and said the 20th of April was date on which the accused are supposed to appear for mention and setting of trial dates. This case of 5 women appearing before court dates back to last year. According to the document before the Lusaka's Magistrate Court, Precious Nkunika Judiciary Officer whilst acting together with Emily Ho, Rebecca Mkandawile, Nelly Kasolo and Grace Seka, who are said to be University Teaching Hospital employees, allegedly connived and stole a baby from its mother, Elina Lungu. The state has slapped them with a charge of child stealing contrary to the laws of Zambia. A statement that was issued by the Zambia police had indicated that on the 7th of May 2022, the infant's mother, Elina Lungu, was admitted at UTH immediately after giving birth. It was alleged that the 4 UTH employees took advantage of the situation and stole the baby in order to replace it with a child of Precious Nkunika, who had unfortunately lost a child during delivery. Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
We take our first break. We'll be right back.
You know I can take her a break.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, my dear. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. Renglow, your smart irrigation partner.
Welcome back. We continue with the news. The Mtomboko Midland Committee says it is concerned at the decline in culture levels among young people who are now adopting Western cultures. Addressing journalists at a media briefing ahead of the Mtomboko ceremony to be held in July this year, Midland Committee Vice Chairperson Mumbalumba says there is need for young people to identify themselves with where they are coming from and be proud of their culture. Mr. Lumba says the committee has since put up various activities to help raise resources for the hosting of the Mtomboko ceremony, among them the reopening of the Luapula circuit in order to ensure that the province begins to attract tourists who will contribute to the development of the province. Meanwhile, Mwatakazembe representative Prince Kazanga Mbao has thanked all cooperating partners who have shown interest to support the ceremony, which is meant to showcase the culture of the Lunda Luba people of Mwansa Bombwe.
Save our heritage. And now how do we do that? We need to identify ourselves to where we are coming from. This is what we've really lost as Africans. You need to identify where you come from so that you are known, Uyumu Lunda, and this is how the Lundas behave. That is how we preserve our cultural heritage. Now, you young ones, or us young ones, are slowly shifting away from that. I don't know why. We are being taken to modern type of living, which is not nice. Culture is very good and it will preserve all energies and everything. We are trying to open the Luapula circuit in terms of tourism. You know, we've lagged very much behind. We have not shown our people what happens in Luapula. We have mighty rivers like the Luapula River. We have the Ntumbachushi Falls. We have the Lake Bangouru. We have the Lake Mweru. But how many of us have been to those places?
As we are all aware, tourism is one of the key sectors in Zambia's economy diversification. I am pleased to announce that we are contributing 150,000 kwacha towards the hosting of this important ceremony.
Minister of Health Sylvia Masewo has challenged community health assistants to offer their services to Zambia, including in the remote area where most people avoid going to. And now speaking in Lusaka Thursday at the launch of the Adolescent Health and National Community Health Strategies for 2022 to 2023, Ms. Masewo says the two documents have been formulated with collaboration with partners in health and are expected to help the country achieve universal health coverage by 2030. The minister says her ministry, through its community health and adolescent health units, has worked hard to ensure that the two strategies are completed for implementation and contribute towards the achievement of universal health coverage. And speaking on behalf of cooperating partners, Head of Development Cooperation at the Embassy of Sweden, Susanna Hans, says teenage pregnancy continues to be the leading cause of death among teenage girls, and thus encouraged giving priority to mental health of adolescents.
We want community health assistants, those that will help the degree professors in the hospitals, those that will help the patients in the communities, in the remotest part of Zambia, where many of you don't go, where these services are not there. But these people have the community. So if we can train this cadre called community health assistant in every corner of Zambia to go out in the communities to teach the people of Zambia basic health education.
It is not only right to improve the health and well-being of all adolescents, but it's also smart economics. Take early unintended pregnancy, for example. Globally, pregnancy is the leading cause of death for girls aged 15 to 19 years due to complications during pregnancy and birth. Adolescent mothers face higher risks of eclampsia, puerperal endometritis, and systemic infections than older women. And the babies of adolescent mothers face higher risks of low birth weight, preterm birth, and severe neonatal conditions. Investing in adolescent health, we should not forget mental health services. According to the Zambia HMIS data from 2021, adolescents aged 10 to 19 years constituted 42% of the total number of patients treated for depression.
As civil society organization in Zambia, we recognize the effort made by the government of the Republic of Zambia through the Ministry of Health to promote health and well-being through a multi-sectoral approach that involves key stakeholders, including civil society organizations. We also recognize the challenges faced in achieving universal health coverage,
particularly at community level. And we are delighted to witness the launch of these documents as a testament to the ministry's commitment to addressing these challenges.
Minister of Transport and Logistics Frank Tayali says Zambia's central geographic location in the Southern African Development Community SADC region has presented an opportunity for the country to be exposed to multiple import and export trade and transport corridors. Mr. Tayali explains that economic and transport corridors are critical for the development of nations, especially the case for landlocked countries that need to access imports for production or regional and global markets. The Transport Minister says there is need to unlock the capital needed to realize the full development potential of key corridors as important trade routes for both economic growth and food security in Southern Africa. The minister said this when he participated in an in-person event on unblocking financing opportunities and development potential of key corridors in Africa, where he is attending the 2023 World Bank Group International Monetary Fund spring meetings in Washington, D.C., USA.
We'll be cutting close to 800 kilometers of access by Zambian markets to the seaport. So that is extremely, extremely important. Now, the same goes to my earlier reference to Angola and how, because of literally lack of cooperation between the two governments, with 1,010 kilometers of borderline, there's been no border infrastructure. Now the president in Zambia is promoting what they're calling economic diplomacy, where we're reaching out and that we must begin to talk to one another to be able to achieve some of these things that you refer to. So in just agreeing with you, there is an urgent need for the private sector and indeed the public sector to be able to begin to talk. And I think that the first step in order to getting
United States Ambassador to Zambia, Michael Gonzalez, says his government remains committed to ensuring that Zambia's debt restructuring process is quickly resolved. Mr. Gonzalez disclosed that his recent meeting with his Chinese counterparts discussed, among other issues, Zambia's debt restructuring process. He says that the trade competition between the United States and China should not be perceived to be enmity, but health towards development.
States, as I said, believes in and is investing in Zambia's success. And it's not something that's being imposed. We're investing in the future that the Zambian people themselves have called for, a future that is punctuated by inclusive and sustainable economic development, the impartial application of the rule of law and protection of fundamental rights and freedoms, and into the cultures of corruption and impunity that have prevailed for far too long, and equitable delivery of public services to enable all Zambians to envision and to realize a better future. These visits reflect a sustained cadence of consultation and collaboration among the senior-most leaders of our countries as partners to find shared solutions to challenges that impact Zambia, the region, and the world.
We take our last set of commercials. When we get back, we have the rest of the stories in international and sports news.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
A South African fugitive who faked his own death in a prison break that embarrassed the authorities has been extradited from Tanzania, the government said on Thursday. Thabo Bester, convicted for rape and murder, escaped from a privately run prison in May last year, but South African police only found out last month. Besta was believed to have died after setting himself on fire behind bars, but in late March, police said DNA tests revealed the charred remains found in his cell belonged to someone else. Here's a roundup of international news.
A South African fugitive who faked his own death in a prison break has been extradited from Tanzania, according to government sources. The government also confirmed the fugitive had been readmitted into Mampuru Central Maximum Correction Facility.
We can confirm that these fugitives have been returned to South Africa. Mr. Thabo Besta has been readmitted into the Mampuru Central Maximum Correctional Facility, and Dr. Nandipha Magudumana is under arrest, pending her first court appearance this morning.
Thabo Besta, convicted of rape and murder, escaped from a privately run prison in Bloemfontein in May last year, but South Africa police only found out last month.
As I've said, that scientifically and forensically, it has been proved that Thabo is him. Also, the fingerprints of the lady were taken, though she was very much cooperative, we're told.
Besta had been arrested by Tanzanian authorities on Friday night last week, along with a woman, a Mozambican national, with whom he is reportedly romantically involved.
Going forward, UK soldiers could be tried for murder, amongst other grave offences committed against Kenyans in Kenya. Kenyan MPs voted Wednesday to amend the defence agreement with the government of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. The amended deal will now go to the Kenyan Ministry of Defence for further negotiation with their British counterparts. The murder of a 21-year-old woman prompted the move. Agnes Wanjiru went missing after she was seen walking out of a bar with British soldiers in Kenya in 2012. Her body was later found in a septic tank at a hotel nearly 3 months later. To this day, no one has been brought to justice for her killing. The amendment that was voted through does not apply retrospectively and therefore will not impact how the Wanjiru case is handled. The UK Defence Ministry has insisted it's been cooperating with Kenyan authorities over the investigation after allegations of a cover-up. The defence agreement was initially proposed in 2021 under former President Uhuru Kenyatta, but its parliamentary ratification was delayed due to presidential polls and local objections over the agreement.
Lebanon is buying wheat through a World Bank loan. It's the only way to ensure the price of bread, a main staple, remains subsidized. The state is nearly bankrupt and struggling to pay importers in dollars.
If it was not for the World Bank loan, today we would have been looking at a price of bread that is over 120,000 Lebanese liras, which is almost twice the current price.
The wheat loan is one of many projects financed by the World Bank. Roughly 80,000 families are receiving cash assistance as part of a social safety net program it helped build. But it has set conditions on funding that's not for emergency use. For example, in order for the nearly collapsed energy industry to get funding, Lebanon has to audit the state electricity company responsible for much of the government's debt.
The international community says it won't bail out a political class accused of decades of corruption. It says the financial lifeline Lebanon needs will only come through an agreement with the International Monetary Fund.
And that requires economic and fiscal reforms and proper oversight over public finances. But decision makers backed by the business elite have not shown interest. So far, they've made the public pay for an estimated $70 billion in losses.
There's a clear path that has been taken that has seen most of the deposits in the banking sector liquidated or lirified, if one can say, at a very discounted rate. And we have seen that for $30–40 billion so far.
All the while, the economic situation is worsening with inflation in triple digits.
The government has been absent. It's done nothing. The economy is in ruins and unemployment is high.
Analysts say an IMF program would unlock billions of dollars in funding and also gives investors confidence the country is reforming. And many warn, without that, Lebanon could face a never-ending crisis that will have irreversible consequences, especially for the poor. Zana Khudr, Al Jazeera, Beirut.
Let's now look at sports news. The 2004-2005 African Motor Rally champion Mona Singh has died at the age of 53. The Zambia Motorsport Association has confirmed the death of the legendary driver after an illness. The 53-year-old rally driver will be remembered for his daring adrenaline driving, which has been a key part of motorsport in Zambia. Singh hails from a family of drivers, with his father Satwat having won a record 8 African Rally Championships and his two sons Muna and Jassi being some of Zambia's top drivers. And on that sporting note, we come to the end of the news, but before we go, a recap of the headlines once again. Community gang members terrorize residents of Lusaka's Garden House compound. Anti-Corruption Commission halts Treasury bills, bonds worth 31 million kwacha held by 18 government officials. President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA calls for law reforms that are non-conflicting. In our international headlines, a shocking prison break fugitive returned to South Africa. Two-time African Rally champion Mona Singh Sr. dies. We now look at the Camnet verse for today, coming from Deuteronomy 4, verse 29. But from there you will seek the Lord your God, and you will find him, if you search after him with all your heart and with all your soul. Thank you so much for watching. On behalf of the entire production and news crew, my name is Louisiana Lupumbwe. Bye for now. God bless and enjoy the rest of our programmings on Camnet TV. Good night.